CAA talking about their worst roads. They've kicked it off again today. And Dufferin was always on the top. And people always say, well, these are on these lists. Why can't the city fix them?
Well, we are. And the fact is we're doing better. If you go back to the beginning when I took this office, we had, I think, 5 of the top 10. We're down to 2 of the top 10 worst roads in Ontario. And one is Dufferin and one is Yonge Street. And both are slated to have work done. I mean, for example, Dufferin will have work done downtown around Dundas and also up around the 401 this year. We'll spend $170 million fixing roads this year. So it's not that we're not doing it. And by the way, potholes we're hard at. Well, it's been a nightmare this year, frankly, because of the weather. Year, right? And, you know, we've already fixed well more than 100,000 potholes, which is like a record for this time of the year. But it's a constant struggle to keep up, and we're just trying to do better. And I think the fact we have 2 of the top 10 from last year, now that we're starting a new competition, down from 7 of the top 10, I think is a, you know, is a step forward.
Is a win, right? And it's not an easy process. It takes, like, you plan these things years in advance.
Well, that's the thing, is that, you know, and we're trying to coordinate it better, too, so that we don't close kind of like, you know, Avenue Road, Yonge Street, and Bayview all at the same time, because they're all north-south streets close to each other. And so between the coordination, between the budgeting, between the planning, it is a tough job, and it's a big city. And as I say, I mentioned the $170 million number so that people will know that we're investing a lot of their money fixing the roads. We are doing it, but as fast as you repair them, you know, there are more that come up for repairs, but we're trying to do better.
All right, let's talk a little bit of politics. You've had a chance to sit down with Andrea Horwath and Kathleen Wynne. Doug Ford is the next one. Polls out today showing he has a 21-point lead, possibly the Conservatives winning in Ontario. What would the conversation go like? I mean, you were combatants at one point.
I think the conversation in terms of that combatant stuff would be fine, in the sense that, you know, in politics, I've certainly tried never to make it personal, and I think most other people try to do the same thing. I think what we really need to talk about is substantive issues, and you know, they had a platform out when Patrick Brown was there that talked a lot about transit, for example, and I need to know, in light of the fact that that platform has changed because of some of their thoughts about the carbon tax and whatnot, can they still maintain the transit commitments that were in that platform? Because for me, I mean, my job is very simple. It's to stand up for Toronto and the people of Toronto, and that means these days mostly about transit and housing. And so I just need to know, what are they going to do? What will their revised platform say about their plans for transit and housing? Because we need them as partners. And so that's what the conversation will focus on, I'm sure.
Do you think they'd be willing to work with you, the Conservatives?
Oh, sure. Look, I mean, you know, people overestimate this business of, you know, huge personality conflicts. I've made a real effort to get along with the governments of Ontario and Canada, and I think what's, you know, we have to show for that is, for example, the $9 billion for transit that was announced last week. But in the end, Mr. Ford needs a strong Toronto if he was to form the government, because it's the economic engine of Ontario. I need the province as a partner to build transit and build housing. So there is this, you know, kind of thing that draws us together to work together. And the only question is, frankly, whether the personalities get in the way. I try not to let that happen. I mean, to me, my job is to work with, you know, whoever the government of Ontario and the government of Canada is, and get stuff done for people.
Okay, Mayor. Thank you very much for joining us today.